The member from Toronto Danforth.
Thank you, Speaker. My question to the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we learned that a panel has signed off on this government's plan to bury nuclear waste near the shores of Lake Huron. 152 communities who share our Great Lakes are against this plan, including London, Windsor, Chicago, and Toronto. Resolutions have been passed in at least 5 Great Lakes states to oppose this project. Ironically, this new threat to Lake Huron comes at the same time this government is introducing legislation to protect the Great Lakes. Mr. Speaker, does the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change support his government's plan to bury nuclear waste in the watershed of Lake Huron?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We have a very good process in this country around making these decisions, and this is under federal regulation and a federal responsibility, Mr. Speaker. And I think it would be very inappropriate for me or other members of this House to weigh in and create any impression that there's bias in that process, Mr. Speaker. We have nuclear storage with in a province with 50% of our energy generated by nuclear. There is obviously an issue of nuclear waste and nuclear waste management, Mr. Speaker. And the government's biggest priority was ensure public safety and that this is stored properly and safely to the highest standards in the world, and to respect the regulation and jurisdictions of other governments that regulate and have to make these.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Well, Speaker, this government may have faith in Stephen Harper. We don't. The government knows full well that the federal government has gutted environmental oversight in recent years. Due diligence has become more like a rubber stamp. We can't count on the federal government to do the right thing. We know a similar waste dump in New Mexico has used similar technology and failed twice, releasing radioactivity to the surface. Wow. Will the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change step in to fill the gap in federal oversight?
Good question.
You know, Mr. Speaker, there is something called the Canadian Constitution, which both enables and limits the authorities of different governments, and it is, quite frankly, beyond the ability of any government to interfere with that, and we're not about to start to, Mr. Speaker. What we have done, Mr. Speaker, is that we introduced the Clean Water Act, and we have water protection plans developed by these communities that address those things. We will ensure that within the jurisdiction and authority of the province of Ontario, we will take all measures within our constitutional authority to ensure that all waste, nuclear and others, is properly disposed of. And, Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure whether the member right now is suggesting that the current storage practices are better than what's being proposed. I'd like to hear his defence of the status quo.
Thank you.